Hi, I'm Tyler, and there's no perfect movie. And even though last year was a worse year for movies, I didn't have a worst of list because the movies that I loved, I saw over and over again and really just didn't give a shit about the ones that sucked. And the same can be exactly said for this year. I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood 4 times, Joker 3 times, and even movies that were lower on my best of list I have seen twice. So this obviously was a better year. However, I was disappointed by a lot of other stuff more recently. So, this will be my top 10 worst movies of 2019. And full disclaimer, I don't go see bad movies on purpose, so you're not going to see stuff like Haunting of Sharon Tate or The Fanatic on this list. These are movies that I had some anticipation for, and for multiple different reasons, just didn't live up to that. Number 10, the 2019 Lion King. Now, this is lower on the list because, honestly, the things that we want to be shot for shot, like the Circle of Life, the Wildebeest Stampede, Hakuna Matata, those scenes are still effective. And I will say this, they do have good new actors to bring to these roles. Donald Glover as Simba, or Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen as Timon and Pumbaa. Those ones worked very effectively. Eichner and Rogen were also the only ones who seemed to be allowed to deviate from the script, from the original script, because that's the big problem, as so many people have pointed out with this Lion King. You could have stayed home, you could have went on Disney Plus, dialed down this movie, the 94 version, and you would have gotten the exact same fucking movie, except in 2D animation, which makes it feel more alive. The effects in the 2019 one will definitely win the Oscar for Best Visual Effects and are groundbreaking and visually stunning, but it's a case of more realism equaling less fun to be had. Number 9, Velvet Buzzsaw. Not the first horror movie on this list, but honestly one of the most forgettable because for a movie based from a really talented filmmaker, this is the same guy who directed Nightcrawler, and some really good cast members, Jake Gyllenhaal, Toni Collette, Daveed Diggs, among many others. This movie did not know when it wanted to be a drama, when it wanted to be a horror movie, and when it tries to be a horror movie, it just settles for cheap jumps that really amount to nothing. There are one or two good kills, but they take so long to get to them that at that point you don't even care what happens. The characters were pretentious and annoying. Their viewpoints on art were pseudo philosophical at best. Number 8, It Chapter 2. I was going to see this in Toronto when I was at TIFF, and I eventually did, but I at first went to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood the fourth time because the reactions to this one were so mixed that I was going to wait. But eventually, I did sit down in a theater at noon on a Monday, and even that didn't really make up for the fact that this movie was just like the second chapter of the miniseries and the adult sections of the book, incredibly disappointing. They do have really good actors like James McAvoy and Jessica Chastain, Bill Hader giving one of his best dramatic performances ever, and Bill Skarsgård is still a really effective Pennywise, but the scares just were not that good. It went on for so long, and honestly, the 2 hours and 40 minutes, it did not need to be that long. You could have cut out all of the preachy dialogue about what the themes are in this movie because yeah, as they're adults, they clearly have not learned a fucking thing if they have to spell out the entire message of the movie every 15 minutes. Number 7, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. The only reason to go to a theater is to watch 2 or 3 really good kaiju fights, but that's really about it. You have great actors like Kyle Chandler, Vera Farmiga, Charles Dance, and Bradley Whitford giving really embarrassing performances. Why Bradley Whitford decided to be Rick? I have absolutely no idea, but in any case, it did not work out at all. Farmiga especially seemed the most embarrassed just because of how over the top and silly her character was. Charles Dance says like 6 things throughout the entire movie, and he's really just there to give his Tywin death stare, and that's really about it. And some of the kaiju fights weren't even that good because if everyone complained about all the bad weather in the original Godzilla, which I still like a hell of a lot more, you're gonna be nauseous this entire time. Snow, wind, lightning, everything is in the way. And there's no fucking reason for it. Just show monsters fighting each other in broad daylight for once. How hard is that? Number 6, Pet Sematary, a Stephen King adaptation I was much more anticipating because the trailers gave me this impression that it had a more old-fashioned scare element to it. That was not the case, because while it did have a decent enough creepy atmosphere, it was always ruined by the jump scares that would accompany them. You have good actors like Jason Clarke who are reduced to being so over the top. There's so many Jack Nicholson Shining comparisons, especially with his character. John Lithgow was really good. He's the one part of it that really holds up. The marketing was so misleading. Those kids with the paper mache masks that are so fucking creepy and were one of the creepy elements in the movie, they're in one scene, and it's not even a scary scene. It's really fucking pointless. Number 5, Brightburn. The most rushed horror movie of the year, barely even an hour and a half. I have absolutely no idea why it was an hour and a half. Maybe it was because they didn't have the budget to do half the stuff that would have made it awesome, because I will say this, there are a couple of creative kills, and they try to flesh out the characters as much as possible, but when the opening scene shows us a bunch of books on how to conceive a baby, and then it cuts to the main couple in bed, so clearly we know what they're doing, and says, you know what, maybe we can have a baby. Yeah, maybe we could. We're not stupid, you know? It's so damn preachy. The parents are such bumbling idiots when it comes to just how fucking psychopathic their son is. I'm sure there are parents who are just as dumb, but they're not characters I'd want to watch in a theater. And again, the scares aren't really even built up. The R rating is... it's just there. Like, there's one or two good kills, but you didn't have to make it an R rating for it to work. Number 4, Lucy in the Sky. I saw this movie on Friday the 13th at TIFF, and boy, did that really set the stepping stone for the other movie that I watched that exact same day. But I was expecting a lot more from Noah Hawley. I was hoping he would at least add some entertainment value, but no, I'm convinced dude cares more about being artistic than giving a good movie to watch. Because, let's face it, being artistic does not automatically make your movie good, no matter how many aspect ratios you put in there. Why did you need 5 aspect ratios? I don't know. It was boring. Lucy's obsession with going back into space is not fleshed out enough because we don't even see her in space for that long. We only see her leaving space and going back to Earth. That's not enough. Number 3, Serenity, a movie that for the first 2 thirds, I was thinking this was okay. I was alright with Matthew McConaughey's performance. The direction wasn't anything spectacular, but it was serviceable enough, and I could tell that Anne Hathaway's performance was intentionally bland, kind of like in a 50s film noir femme fatale sort of way. Then the twist happened, and like everybody, I thought, what the fuck was everyone thinking? This was a stupid twist. M. Night Shyamalan wouldn't pull a fucking twist like this. And yes, I know for a fact that those clues were foreshadowed from the first frame in the movie, but at the same time, everything else about it was so unintentionally stupid that it really doesn't warrant anything great about it. Number 2 is a controversial choice on this list because of the high rating on Rotten Tomatoes, the fact that it's getting Oscar consideration, but I, again, was on board with this movie. I was thinking it was a good slice of life movie. But then Weathering with You just kept going, and it became so fucking preachy and over the top and went completely against everything else that happened in the first half of the movie. There are so many over-the-top cliches, like constant screaming and yelling that are cliches in anime that should not be repeated. I know, say whatever you want about me, but I don't care. I'm not even the only person who feels that way about these certain things. And the twist has such a fucking weird way of being cynical on paper, but they're still so optimistic about it. The characters and the movie itself is so optimistic about it, and I'm like, yeah, we get it. You think all human beings are assholes, but they're not. It does have beautiful, stunning animation, and everyone who tells me that Your Name is a much better movie, trust me, I believe that. You don't have to convince me otherwise. It was preachy, it was sappy. I felt like I'd been completely fooled in a 180. I felt like I felt like the director was just giving me the finger the whole time, and I'll say this. At my TIFF screening, not a single person clapped. And the guy I shared an escalator with told me exactly why. Because nobody would clap at a crappy movie. So, the number one worst movie I saw of 2019 is not Cats, because I avoided Cats. It's not Charlie's Angels, because I listened to female critics who saw the movie and didn't like it, so I didn't go see it. So, what might it be? It's a movie you've probably never heard of, and it's a movie I haven't talked about because I just can't believe the fact that I paid money to see it. Number 7, Cherry Lane. No, that is not where Mary Poppins lives. That's 17 Cherry Tree Lane. If it was called 17 Cherry Tree Lane, there would at least be some joy and magic to it. This is a movie that is trying to be even more artsy than Noah Hawley in ways that nobody has ever attempted because no one would even bother. No one would make a movie, an animated movie, that is so choppy and stilted on purpose because there are moments of very fluid and vibrant animation. Why he makes it so slow and boring and uninteresting makes absolutely no sense to me. This movie won a screenwriting award at Venice, and the character who has the most amount of dialogue is the fucking narrator, who narrates everything that is happening right in front of us, things we already know for a fact, narrates movies that characters are watching, even though listening to the actual movie would at least make a lot more sense and would at least help us understand why they like the movie and why it connects with those characters and their lives. It's basically a tamer version of Call Me By Your Name because the adult and the student are old enough where it's not really even that creepy, so there's no stakes or tension in that anyways. There is a sex scene that makes the Room sex scenes seem short and tame. And honestly, there could have been a sex scene between Johnny, Lisa, and Denny that would have been a lot hotter than the stuff we get in here because... You know what? Fuck the because. I'm not even going to tell you because that would mean you would go look it up on YouTube just to see what the fuck I'm talking about. Do not. It is... There's no stakes or tension either. Characters make choices so swiftly, and it's not even in a slice of life way where it would make sense. It's just like, oh, well, that way this will move the story along quicker, and then everything will be okay. There's background political stuff that really amounts to nothing. They're so concerned about their relationship because of their age difference, but there are rallies about worse things. What the fuck are you so worried about? Yes, it's true. I don't understand the historical aspect of what's going on in this time period in China. And because the movie doesn't really take the time to explain it in a brief but smart way as possible, not to insult people's intelligence, maybe it could have, but it didn't. Look, I don't really want to say anything else about this movie other than don't go see number 7 Cherry Lane. Go to number 17 Cherry Tree Lane. Look up Mary Poppins and Mary Poppins Returns on Disney Plus because those are fucking worth your time. And even if you didn't like Mary Poppins Returns, you gotta admit there was a lot more effort and more old-fashioned, better old-fashioned qualities than this shit. So, that's my worst of the year list. What did you guys think? And what are some of the worst movies that you've seen all year? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. Be sure to check out my best of the year list. I will put it in one of the end screens somewhere around here. I'll let you know where. Thank you guys so much for watching in 2019. Be sure to stay tuned for more reviews in 2020, as well as some more lists. I have an anticipated list for 2020 coming up very soon. And be sure to like, subscribe, and check out my other reviews at NoPerfectMovie.com. Take care.